Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 8 of the Good People Show. My name is Ricardo, your host. Thank you for joining us all the way from episode 1 till our season finale. Episode 8 marks the end of season 1. However, I was just told by our producers that there has been so much interest in the Good People Show that social enterprises have called us up to extend because they want to be on the show to be featured.
Welcome to
So what I would like to do is to let everybody know that on Thursday next week at 8 p.m. we will be running a on-call environment and sustainability episode. So there will be one on-call episode next Thursday for season 1. So thank you for all your interest, whether you are a viewer, whether you're a social entrepreneur, or whether you're a supporter of the industry. Thank you for supporting the Good People Show. Our aim here at the Good People Show is to spread positivity and the social enterprise industry, so more of you can find out about the other social enterprises doing fantastic work in the industry. For today's episode is a very special episode. We have not one, not two, but we have 3 partner social enterprises and agencies on the Good People Show today. But first, I would like to do a very quick shout out to the good people from Equal Dreams right here, right? And I have, let me see, I'll just make sure my hand, I have Azam from Eco Dreams doing our interpretation for us. Eco Dreams has been a wonderful supporter of this show ever since episode 1. So thank you very much, Eco Dreams, for providing the sign language support. All right. We have almost 50 of you watching, so thank you for tuning in. Like I said, today is a very special episode. The first thing that is special about it is that there are 3 organizations featured, which means that we have prizes from all 3. Let me show you the prizes. Right now, I have got 3 books to give away. It Made a Difference to This One by Russ, one of our guests on the show. He will tell you a bit more about the book in just a while. I have got a $100 contribution to a charity of the winner's choice coming your way. And last but not least, I've got a set of notebook, water bottles, and stainless steel straw prize brought to you by our friends from Empact as well. So without further ado, I am now going to introduce our guests for today. Right? I can't decide whether these are the boy band superstars of the social enterprises, or it's the 3 middle-aged men going to the kopitiam and drink coffee, or 4 middle-aged men, including me. So the answer is probably somewhere in between. The first gentleman I'm going to introduce to you is founder and CEO of Empact, Mr. Peter Young. Hello, Peter.
Hey, Rick. Hello, everyone.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me on the show.
The second middle-aged gentleman I'm going to introduce you is founder and CEO of Social Collider. Please welcome Mr. Russ New. Hello, Russ.
Hello, everyone. I hope you are watching this in the comfort of your home and not somewhere else. And I'm middle-aged, but always new. All right? Thank you.
All right. I like that.
Yeah, and he's always young, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining us on the show. And last but not least, the last middle-aged social enterprise leader I'm going to introduce to you is my good friend, Casper, who is the head of sector engagement and capacity building at Raise. Hello, Casper.
Hello, Rick. I mean, anybody compared to you is middle-aged, lah. So I think I'll just pick it up and live with it.
We are all in our, I think we're all in our 30s, 40s, thereabouts, give or take. So it should be about the same. Very soon we'll be drinking kopi at a kopitiam together. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Yeah, hopefully. Yes, we should after 1st June rather than meeting virtually like that. But all good. Gentlemen, this show is about social enterprises and our industry and how individual social enterprises are coping, but also how the industry is coping. Let's begin by maybe explaining to our viewers today, what is it you guys do? Because this is a very special episode. It's a catalyst capacity building episode. Empact, tell us a bit more, Peter.
Sure. So first of all, we are a social enterprise. So our social mission may be very different from the ones who were in the previous show. Our mission is to help other social enterprises or nonprofits that doing great jobs, right? So I think all of us know, have an idea is easy, but to run a great organization and scale impact is not. It's quite challenging because we need talents, right? We need talents who can do in this age do digital, can manage finance, manage HR, and all these are very important things. But for being in the social sector, we don't have a lot of resources. So how do we attract talents, maintain the talents, and afford those talents become a challenge? So that's where Empact comes in. So we try to bring talent in the commercial sector as volunteers and channel those to our good friends that are doing great work, or we ourselves, our staff, acting as the advisors to other social enterprise to help them to either develop their leadership skills or kind of support them as their organization grows. The interesting fact about us is that we are making all these available many at a time at zero cost, all these top talent at zero cost for the social enterprises, or sometimes at a fraction of what they have to pay from a market perspective. So yeah, end of the day, we hope our existence is to bring other social enterprise and nonprofit much stronger.
Fantastic. Thank you for that quick introduction, Peter. Russ, going to you, Social Collider. What do you guys?
That's right. And before I jump into that, I just realized Peter and I, we will be like the Cheng and Ing. We are new and young, or young and new. All right. Anyway, so
wow, very cold, quite good. Yeah. Okay, please go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, or if you call it like Chinese ways, right? A new and a young, or young and a new. Anyway, so coming back, yeah, so Social Collider,
Okay.
an impact aggregator, and we do that through 4 ways. But of course, in primary revenue stream is also a provision of co-working spaces, and right now we have 2, and hopefully after CV we will have another 2 coming up. So how do we aggregate resources, right, or help the community? We have the 4P framework. The first P is through people. So people, it's like what Peter mentioned earlier in terms of capacity building, or in terms if there is a need for talents. I think we also work very closely with the IHL, so potentially that can come from there. Right. The second P goes into products or services. So a lot of times when social enterprises push out a new product or a new service, our community can always be the first one to test and give feedback. The third P stands for processes. So within Social Collider, we have an in-house consultant, and we also work with some of the big 4 like McKinsey and Bain Consulting to provide this consulting to our members pro bono, just to help them to grow this, right, to streamline their processes. And the 4P, profits, right, and of course, meaning money. And there are 4 ways to go about doing it. The first is through impact investing. The second is through grants. The third, crowdfunding. And the fourth, through businesses. So we try to work on this 4P to help the community to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Very sharp, very easy to understand explanation of the great work that Social Collider does. Last but not least, we keep the VIP. This one sector developer. Not Jing Hu totally, but yes,
Almost.
we have to talk to Race. We have to talk to Race because Race is Race. We've got Casper here with us. Tell us a little bit more about what you guys do, Casper.
Thanks, Rick. Raise is actually a verb. It's really about raising support and raising awareness for social enterprises in Singapore. So Raise actually is a membership body. Why do we need a membership body for social enterprises? And first and foremost, there is no legislation in Singapore for social enterprises. So there has to be some way of conferring such legitimacy to social enterprises. So Raise uses our membership and the criteria by which we take on social enterprises as members to give that legitimacy. I think we also want to really build the ecosystem, and that's where Raise as a central body will be able to bring in different partners say whether it's government, whether it's corporates, people, even the social service sector. That's what a lot of social enterprises have their impact actually rooted in. Of course, sustainability being another rather up and coming area. That's also something that RAISE will be looking at. Primarily, RAISE supports social enterprises through four pillars. One is, of course, I mentioned membership. We also provide funding. That's through the mechanisms of grants, primarily. And then we also build capacity. That's what I look after as a second part of my role. And the last but not least, we promote awareness, just so that people are aware of what social enterprises are and we can encourage consumption for social enterprises products and services. Yep.
I must say, I'm personally a very big fan of RAISE, because not just the work that they've done with Adrenaline, but because it's not easy, right? The social enterprise sector has grown by leaps and bounds ever since this term was coined, was about 15 years ago, and today, what was the last count, Casper? 400 plus social enterprises in Singapore?
We're down about 350 currently.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
That obviously is a multifold increase from where we were just a few years ago. And social enterprises are so diverse, as you've experienced on the Good People Show: F&B, retail, education, capacity builders, events. So I think RAISE does a good job in sort of bringing everybody together. Now that they've introduced themselves, ladies and gentlemen, I need you to be part of the conversation. Just now I mentioned that there are 5 giveaway prizes, courtesy of all our guests here today. I'm just going to pull that up again one more time to show you what that's all about. There are 5 prizes to give away, and if you're wondering how to win those prizes, all you need to do is leave a question in the comments for our guest today. Leave a question in the comments for our guest today. Either that, or you can take part in our very fun audience interaction segment later in. Okay, so there are 3 segments. We have a chit chat now among us, the 4 of us, and then after that we'll go to Q&A, and then the last part we'll give away some prizes. Gentlemen, tell me in a few words, how has COVID adversely impacted what you do? All right, Russ, we start with you.
Sure. So I think more than just me, but also the community. Right. So within Social Collider, there are about 20 social enterprises housed within us, and of course, right now we can't have our monthly meetings. That's for one. But also, primarily, a lot of us, our businesses are affected, just based on the fact that we are either service providers or we do product selling. Right. So these are some of the key things. And also under Social Collider, we do have outreach to schools, and we also host sometimes foreign delegations, and all these can't happen at this juncture. So in terms of revenue stream, in terms of resources and networking, that's all affected.
Okay. Thank you, Russ, for sharing that with us. Empact, how about you guys?
Maybe I take a different spin, and I feel that how has COVID positively affected us, and for me is COVID. Nice. Sorry, apart from the disease part, and I feel that COVID from Empact's context has bring a lot of positivity, and I would want to choose to look at the positivity. I mean, one, of course, our a lot of our event volunteering and etc. no longer can continue, right? Because we can't meet each other and etc. But apart from that, I see a lot of change happening. So Empact has been one of the capacity building we're trying to sort of promote technology adoption within the social sector, especially with the nonprofits, right? Just very simple example, right? Just converting some of our charity clients to use, instead of writing check, to use e-banking, right? We have been trying it many years, and it's just so hard. And now COVID happens, circuit break happens, nobody can write check. You write check, people don't get paid. And then we have nonprofits come to us to say, tell us how to go on digital payments and etc. So from a mission perspective, and I see a lot of COVID has brought change that which some of it is really necessary for the sector. And also for us internally, I see a lot of positive change, and I see, doing the stress test. That's where the team spirit shows within Empact, and it's also a test about how can we adjust, adapt, and support each other's adverse kind of time frame. So yeah, so I would just want to take a slightly different in that manner, and
Sure.
I can share many stories about positivity.
Sure. Thank you, Peter, for being. The aim of the show is to spread positivity during a very difficult time. I will ask the two entrepreneurs just before I go over to Casper. Were there times where that this really got you down, personally, at a personal level? Russ?
Yes, of course, all the time. In fact, it's always about planning what's after the CB, right? But even then, COVID-19 has been projected to probably be not the circuit breaker, but the COVID-19, right, in terms of they're probably going to stay here quite long. And in fact, today I think WHO or BBC just released the news that potentially it's just going to be here forever, right? Just like we're going to say, hey, I have a flu. Probably next time I'm going to say, hey, sorry, I've done with COVID-19, and I'm just going to stay at home, rest, right? It could become the norm. So I think it's always about that. And so it always got me thinking, what's next, right? How do we reboot the momentum that we've built? How do we reach out to the beneficiaries that the community has really helped, right? And more importantly, also, how do we sustain ourselves moving forward? Because I think a lot of things will have changed, and it's very difficult to predict now because it's to me it's just something that is unprecedented, and it's not something that I think in terms of experience. Yeah. So how to mitigate that? I've been trying to walk and jog more. However, if you look at me, I haven't gone down in size, so no, not working. Yeah. Yep.
Peter, have you always been so positive throughout this crisis?
Of course not. I mean, otherwise I would be slightly alien. And I think for me, I think it is a choice. It's a constant choice. And of course, as I'm taking the responsibility for the organization, there will always be fear, right? A fear that there's so many unknowns, right? So what's going to happen, especially when we cannot control or we cannot sort of project things, naturally fear comes in, right? So a fear about what happened, if we can't, we no longer can do volunteering anymore, what do we do? If our revenue target, we still need to sustain ourselves, right? If our revenue targets do not meet, what I'm going to do about it, right? So it's not only about Empact, it's about our clients, about our team members, and etc. So there are moments of fear, and there are moments of frustration, I would say, that when we're always trying to stay ahead of the game, right? Trying to plan, especially, try to plan ahead about, at the first, in February was about the AB team. Then afterwards, it's tighter measures. Then now it's circuit breaker. I remember there's a period of time that every how many days there's new rules, and there's a leadership team. You make decisions, right? You make decisions. You communicate it to the team. A couple of days later, this is no longer relevant. There's a lot of frustrations, and when we have our plans, it doesn't get smooth. So that the impatient side of me will come out to say, hey, is it really worth to do this, or should I just, go with the flow and don't do too much?
Thank you. It's a bit odd for four grown men to be sitting here talking about their feelings. But I will move to Casper. Casper, you guys have a pulse of the entire sector. How has COVID affected the sector?
Actually, I would like to say that we have. Yes, correct. I mean, we would like to say that we have a pulse on the sector, but to be honest, we have 350 members. The sector is so diverse, many industries that we look after, and we also have so many different impact areas. So to say whether we have a real feel, I think it's an ongoing process. When COVID first started, I remember the biggest challenge that we had was how do we react to this? What do we then do to understand more about what's happening to the sector, to the social enterprises? How do we provide assistance really at the enterprise level and as well as the sector level? So that's the things that we grapple with. How do we then go to our stakeholders to ask for more so that we can give as well to the sector? So what we have felt in the start was we are constantly reacting, to what's happening on the ground. But thankfully, I think as a couple of months have passed, we are now trying to anticipate what's going to happen. So I think the silver lining also is that we have seen a lot of people coming up to say that, hey, I want to offer help, and this is forging partnerships like we have never forged before. So I think that's where we hope to see that, post-COVID, that all these things will continue to keep the momentum there. And I think that's really important.
It's quite interesting that both Peter and Casper brought up this idea of almost COVID being a positive catalyst in moving some of these things forward, whether it's partnerships, whether it's technology adoption. So let's talk about that. Right? Let's talk about the reaction the three panelists and organizations have had in reaction to obviously what is a crisis. But just before I go to the panelists, I see almost 80 of you watching us online, but I've only got 2 questions. So can I get more questions in the comments below? Please, you qualify for the lucky draw, of course, but you also get a chance to tap on some of the best and brightest in our industry. I want to do a quick shout out to Andrew, who's watching, Wilson, who is watching, I see Ian, who's watching, Priscilla is watching. So everyone watching us here this Thursday evening, thank you. Hope your week has been good so far. Let's come back to our panelists. How has your organization or you personally fought back against this crisis? Casper, maybe we start with you.
Oh, on a personal front, I think it's more existential, to be honest. That we have always been supporting social enterprises. We are a membership body. The fear, of course, irrational or not, is that, at the end of the day, post-COVID, what if we have no social enterprises left? I mean, that's a very extreme viewpoint. Or okay, maybe not so extreme, but what happens if we have 10, 20% left of our membership base? Then does it mean that the sector is finished, or is it a huge restart all over again and the past 5 years worth of work actually is gone? So I think that weighs very heavily on our hearts, and I think that's also kind of the driver of why everybody in Race is putting in the extra effort, making a lot of things happen. So just to share, from the time that we started to react to COVID until now, we have almost about 20 engagements in the form of town halls, clinics, workshops, masterclasses, and whatnot. And I think it's really taken a toll on the team, but I think that's what they also felt that is driving them forward to ensure that we provide the necessary assistance.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there has been a very wide suite of support and assistance programs in training and financing and all the areas that Race has rolled out in the last, 6 weeks, 8 weeks or so, give or take? So fantastic work there. All right, I'm going to go to Empact. You've already touched briefly, Peter, on some of the things that you've reacted to. I think you got positive very early. You chose to be positive very early. But tell us a little bit more about what are some very tangible things you put in place to fight back.
Right. So first, I think we kind of accepted that in-person volunteering is not happening. So then we quickly say, then we can make it online. And in fact, one of the things we partner with Race, when the COVID situation was early in March, we said that we're going to do clinics to help some of the social enterprise face some of the challenges early in the COVID, and had done with very senior resources from the commercial sector, just to help them to run through their mind, and also thinking about how they can deal with the situation and etc. And second is that we are rolling out a mentorship program. We have always been doing mentorship program, and I believe at this moment of time is even more critical. And we want to support youth social entrepreneurs, because I think many of the youth, who are very passionate but may have not lived through a crisis period, supporting these youth or even at the early stage is very critical. I mean, even end of the day, if their organization doesn't stay or change into a different way, but our impact of helping them to develop crisis leadership and etc. is going to be really, really helpful. And we also started a peer support program with many of the nonprofit leaders, just giving them a space to talk about the stress. And you can think about it during this period of time, how stressful I think maybe we can all feel as a leader of this organization. You have to deal with the situation, deal with the unknown, taking care of your own people, taking care of the beneficiary. It's a lot of stress. So we put together, peer support for the different kind of leaders, giving them a space so that they know that it's not just them, it's a really a common feeling. And the second is that, they feel that they can learn from each other, which is like Casper shared, we have seen partnership, we have never seen it before. In the past, maybe people were still very cautious about partnering with each other, but the COVID has break the barrier down because none of us could do it by ourselves. So just bringing people together as a capacity builder is really something that, we have been trying. And now we are working on a piece about reimagining the post-COVID, because it's not going to be, I believe we are not going to, after circuit breaker, life is not going to be normal. So how can we reimagining the future? And everybody is saying that, we don't know what the future will be like. But then I would say that, let's dream the future and let's enroll people into that future that we all see and we want to create, rather than waiting for the future to unfold. So yeah, these are some of the stuff that we have been very busy with at this moment.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have just kept on going and kept on innovating. But I again want to bring out that this recurring theme in our conversation today, right? That this COVID thing has actually in some way brought people closer together, even if we are physically apart, right? Doing a show like that, bringing the three of you, and sort of just having a chit chat for 40 minutes, that would have been perhaps harder before COVID, right? Yeah. Okay. Russ, how has Social Collider been reacting to the crisis?
Yeah. So earlier I mentioned the 4P framework. So under the processes, right? So we have been reaching out one-to-one to some of our community members just to find out how they can tap into their strengths and see what are the opportunities out there, and then we try to connect them. So that's one. And the other is, of course, I mentioned earlier in terms of profits or money. Right? So just so happened that during our monthly meeting, have been able to invite some of the grants givers like DBS Foundation, Singtel Future Makers, Temasek, Oscar Grants to come in to share. Right? I think this is just about, so it's not through our efforts per se, but really to collect these efforts. And earlier, I just want to quickly also mention that one of the social enterprises, within the so-called community, SG Assist, I think they've been doing a great job. And since the COVID hit, I think their membership or their volunteers have gone up from, I think, 800, and then now it's about close to 3,000 already within a short span of this COVID period. Yeah, and I think this is amazing. I've personally gone on a run, whether it's to help the migrant workers or the elderly, and I think it's just a great thing. And that is one of the key things that I see really reaffirming, and it's the whole Singapore spirit, isn't it? Like, hey, we are not just here to care about our own survival, but it's really about reaching out during this extremely tough times to help everybody else, especially those in need. Yeah. So that's really something that's very caring and happy for me. Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's again, I started this journey thinking that I will hear a lot of doom and gloom stories across the social enterprise sector, and instead, I hear a lot of resilience. I hear a lot of positivity. I hear a lot of collaboration, and that can augur well. Now let's look a little bit further into the future before we go into Q&A. By the way, we're going to a Q&A, everybody. Questions. We're going to go into Q&A right after this. My final question to everyone on the panel is sort of look into your crystal ball. Number one, when do you think this will be over? Number two, how do we get out of this even stronger than before? Right? When do you think this will be over? How do we get out of this even stronger than before? Peter, I'll let you kick off this one.
Wow, difficult. Okay, when do I think it will be over? I hope it will be over very soon. But I think, my CFO always do the scenario planning. He was like, okay, maybe we should reasonably think that this, kind of measures will last for another year, which means that I'm from China, so my parents still there. I feel like, okay, I really want to go back to see my parents, but I can't at this moment. So I really hope things will be over soon. But when I say things will be over soon, it's more from the COVID as a virus standpoint of view. But I don't think our society, the world that we are living, is ever going to go back. That is my personal view. Maybe I take an example of in the sector of intermediary or capacity builder like Empact. So we have been connecting with people like ourselves in all over the world, in the US, in Europe, and we have weekly calls just learning from peers and etc. And a few interesting trends, right? The demand is going to be more and more apparent. There will be more social needs. The demand for the work that we all are going to do is going to increase, it's not going to decrease. So that's for sure. Second, I think there will be we have seen a lot of individuals stepping forward and want to do things, right? So I mean, in US, in New York, they have seen 500% increase in people wanted to do something to make a difference. A huge amount of people want to contribute, but they don't know the how, right? And I think there's going to be a huge restructuring in terms of where money is going to come from in the social sector. And I think in Singapore, we are relatively very, I would say that the government is really very helpful in providing and supporting all the social service agency. I mean, even we look at Hong Kong, we look at in the US, an organization like in my industry is really laying off people and etc. And the nonprofits are only having a couple of months runway to deal with, especially corporates are not doing well, the donations are not coming, organizations are really suffering. So inevitably, I would see that consolidation and organization has to reinvent their service because the needs has changed. Whoever they're serving, the needs has changed. They have to reinvent themselves. And as intermediaries or as kind of resource provider, we really need to deal with the challenge about demand is increasing, and the supply is also increasing, but we ourselves, from a resource model, from a revenue model, we aren't going to cap growing our risk as how the demand and supply is going to grow. So we have to be innovative in finding ways to channel that and make sure that the demand and supply find each other.
Thank you. I thought the point you made about demand is going to grow for social needs and social enterprises. I think in times of crisis, that gives us, well, hope for the future, right? That there will be a space for more people to come and join the sector and do more good. Casper, your thoughts about how long this is going to run, how we're going to emerge from this stronger?
Well, like I think if I have a crystal ball and I can predict the future in this kind of sense, maybe I can also predict in terms of the 4D numbers, but okay, never mind, that's a separate story.
Please let us know if you know the number.
Yeah, we can share. As a planning norm, I suppose maybe that's a good point to work on. We're looking at actually till April 2021. But things are dynamic. Yeah. So, but it is really to look at it more from you a recovery phase. And this recovery phase, unlike SARS was a kind of V-shaped recovery. But in this instance, we tend to think that the after effects of COVID could be a much longer tail, a more gradual tail of recovery, because it is so wide globally. I think the whole global economy will need time to pick itself up again. And Singapore being so plugged into the whole global scene as well. So what we actually can see social enterprises actually doing right now really is being as what Peter mentioned, being innovative, being looking at the business models now again to see what needs to be changed and how to change it, and hopefully Raise can help with providing that support in helping them to figure out what needs to be done. But I think there's also lies a very critical factor. Social enterprises, has always been that debate: social first or business first. So I'm putting myself out on a line here to say that actually we've always been looking at social enterprises as business first. A reason being very simple: if you cannot sustain yourself as a business, then actually whatever impact that you create and whatever impact that you will have lost as a result of your business failing, these are very serious collateral damages. So that's something that we want to emphasize quite a bit. And that's why we also hope that, with this crisis, it really points a very clear picture, or paints a very clear picture that, social enterprise must grow and sustainable enterprises, even as they continue to look at the impact that they create. So we just hope that, with all these, there is going to be a positive shift. We're trying to look on the bright side, while keeping a very realistic pulse on what may happen, in the sector.
Thank you, Casper. So again, you've heard from two of our panelists predicting almost a 1 year sort of runway. So if you're watching the show, again, nobody has a crystal ball, but that's I think fairly conservative, right? I mean, we were seeing economies open tentatively. Different countries are taking steps already, but yet we've got entrepreneurs and leaders saying, "Hey, maybe we should look a year out and plan accordingly. At the same time, be sustainable." Russ, what about yourself?
Yeah, likewise. I think I won't say it's over. I would think it's more mitigated if we can find a vaccine for the flu. However, a flu vaccine typically takes 10 years to develop. And even though there is a Bill Gates Foundation and WHO, everybody's pulling resources in, I think with this, at most probably you'll be accelerated. Probably 1 year is the right time frame. In the meantime, I think one good thing that has emerged is that in Singapore, the mortality rate is really very low despite our huge number. It's 0.1%, and to me, that's a great thing because it goes to show that yes, touch wood, we can get it, but it's not like a death sentence that oh my gosh, I'm just going to die because I got it. No, it's not. Right? I think with proper care and rest, we can recover from it, right? And I think we'll be stronger from this. So moving forward, for me, I also think it's about 1 year, if not earlier, right? Nonetheless, I feel that we should just go ahead and see if things can be moved as we go on. Yeah. Sorry, your second question was?
My second question is, how do we then emerge from this more resilient and even stronger?
Yeah. So for me, I think one clear thing about the whole COVID situation, good and bad, of course, and of course, now that everything is a double-edged sword, and like what Peter mentioned earlier, there is a silver lining, right, in terms of nature reclaiming land, but also how I see is we are only as strong as our weakest point, right? And I think through the COVID situation, our weakest point has been flagged out. It's the neglect of the migrant workers or in the homes, right? Because I think if you look at the cases, these are the main ones that have emerged, right? Moving forward, I think these are the gaps, but also opportunities to try to mitigate these weakest points. Because if not, the next time something else happens, will this again come back? And then, of course, we zoom out a little bit more, right? If we were to look at the whole situation, again, I also want to, I agree with Peter that because people begin to realize that we are only as strong as our weakest point. Therefore, in terms of social plus business, right, like what Casper mentioned, then I think these are the key areas that people will begin to believe in, right? And not just like, oh, let's just zoom for business, let's just gun for sales without caring about everything else, and everything else can take a second step. No, I think it's going to be in tandem as we move along. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So now we're going to move into our Q&A. Lots of questions. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Just say one thing. I think I just listening to the others. Certainly, I reminded myself that is we cannot choose or we cannot decide when the recovery is going to be, but we can choose and decide what is our response going to be. And I think I choose to share positivity, but it doesn't mean that there is no negative impact, right? So we can choose our perspective, we can choose our reaction to whatever is happening. With whatever is happening, we can only accept, that is gonna, whatever is, how long it takes, it will be that, but we can choose our own destiny in a sense.
Absolutely. I love that very entrepreneurial spirit to say that, hey, what is ahead of me is merely a challenge that I have to overcome, and I can choose that response. So thank you for sharing that, Peter. Let's go into our Q&A segment. Right, and I'm going to give you the prizes again. These are the 5 prizes that we can win. Everybody, questions in the comments below. I've got about 15 minutes for Q&A. We're going to extend the show a little bit because we have 3 guests for the first time. Let's take a look at our questions right now. Shanti asked, is it now a harder time to secure grants for social enterprises? Casper?
I would say there's actually a number of grants out there currently, and also there's also a new grant under Temasek Oscar. I think Ras mentioned it earlier. Whether
Mm-hmm.
it's harder or not really depends on the process and the idea. We have a saying, if you have a great idea, you will not worry about finding the money. So I still believe that
Mm-hmm.
that is a true saying, but you really need to go out there, put yourself out. Sometimes at the first instance, you don't get the grant because there's something that you need to refine, you need to work on. Try again, try again. We've seen social enterprises coming back to us with multiple grant applications because they don't give up. And actually they do get the grant. So ask also, if you don't get the grant, why is it that I don't get the grant? What are the things that I can improve on? But the money is out there. Singtel Future Maker is giving out grants. DBS is giving out grants. Ray still gives out grants. We haven't stopped our grant program at all. So do find out what's there and actually gun for it.
All right. If anyone is watching, we are looking for a sponsor for season 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? Yeah, let us know. Let us know if you are interested in sponsoring the Good People Show. Self-sponsored the first season. All good. All right. Question for the two entrepreneurs. How are the staff in your organizations affected by the situation? Anything positive you've been doing to keep morale and spirits up?
Peter, you want to go first?
Any of yeah, Peter, go ahead, Peter.
Oh, yeah. I think staff is, in fact, is the number one that always on my mind, even before business sustainability. Actually, I mean, for my business, people is the business essentially, and I think my team is also an inspiration for me. During this period, and I think in February, monthly we have town hall sessions, just talking through what we're dealing with and etc. So we had in February we did a session that we split different topic. People can join to ask questions about our business sustainability, social impact, as well as operations. And guess what? Most of the people choose social impact. And I would think, as a staff, I would want to choose operations because, there's more things comply and blah, blah, blah. And maybe if business is not doing well, my job is on the line, etc. So I was so surprised and inspired that most of us would choose to look at social impact. And then there was many ideas discussed to say, hey, our clients' needs has changed. Let's do something about it, that kind of inspired me to kind of the spirit of doing something for others and not just overly proud ourselves, kind of think about ourselves. And I feel that from that incident, I also felt that it's not an accident that many of our colleagues join us. Is because this is the moment they always wanted a purpose, and this is really the moment that we can bring our purpose to the front, just like what you guys are doing. And so from my side, they are inspiring me, and also then my job is also to see how we can support staff. So maybe I just give a few examples. One is that we take this opportunity of social kind of separation and into having all our meetings to a check-in session. In the past, if we are in the office where we meet, we go straight to the agenda and talk and etc. So now all our meetings starts with checking with each other. How have you been? What are you dealing with? What do you think? Do you appreciate and etc. Which is slightly weird for some of the business, but I definitely felt that has brought us much closer to understand what each others are dealing with in the initial stage, and also if there's any positivity we can share. So that was a very good practice, and that in that sense we are building our own culture about what is the identity that for all the staff working here. And separately, we have many.
Peter, let me stop you there. That's quite interesting, right? So what you're saying is, before your meeting begins, you guys just talk about stuff. You all don't talk about business. You just, I don't know, talk about your dog, what you ate for lunch, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So we begin. I look forward to that chit chat session. And sometimes, I will start to say, I feel very lonely and I don't have anyone to talk to. So we will initiate a 30 minutes catch up just with the team and just talk about whatever is happening with their life and just giving each other the support, because like or not, we have very introverted people who may be quite happy. We are also very extroverted people who feel extremely frustrated. So that's how we are keeping each other support. As a leadership, I can't talk to everybody. So then it's about us, everybody, taking that on as a process to check in with each other and take care of it. When a team member is feeling down, if I don't know, then they check in and they will let me know if anything is serious.
No, I thought that was quite a actionable tip, right? That we can do for our next meeting, right? And instead of jumping into the topic proper, just sort of ask how you're feeling today. So I know a lot of adrenaline people are watching. Maybe, yeah. Russ, I'm going to come to you.
Sure.
How are your staff, your teammates? Are you doing anything special?
Yeah, so we meet once a week at least. And within my team, I have someone who's deaf and someone who's blind. So it's quite diverse group of team. And so I need to say, I bring them out on official reasons. So
yeah, I saw you
so
at Dignity Kitchen. Was that your staff the last time?
yes.
That was your guys,
That's
right?
right.
Yes, fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, so but that was before the CB, right? That's before the circuit breaker. Oops.
Right, right.
I bring them up on official reasons. For example, there are some volunteer opportunities such as Buka Puasa, right, with the People's Association. So we sign up, and then I brought some of them there just to get them out and see how we are, right? But also for them to see how I am and also so this is one of the ways, and I think it's great also because I think in times, special times now, right, there are ways to get out of the house officially, right, and this is through doing good, right, and then through volunteering, and because I sit on two charities as well on the board, and one of it is called Social Health Growth, and they are doing great jobs to help the low income families around Singapore. So every week they will have a giving of food. So I will take this opportunity to volunteer, but I choose just to get out of the house officially. So these are some ways that I think it's doing good, but get out, but then you also find out how they are, and then also just for them to show that, hey, this is a good time to give back to society. Even though it's a very tough time, you can see that fellow Singaporeans are really stepping up to fill in the shoes. And I think that's for me the most beautiful thing. Yeah.
Casper, as a leader in the organization, how are you keeping your staff engaged, keeping morale high?
Well, we do meet up quite a lot, virtually. So essentially, we talk to each other quite often because there's so many things to go through and so many things to really iron out, even as we come up with new initiatives. We don't really talk about things at the onset, at the start, because we meet so often, but we tend to leave it to the end. So reverse of what Peter. So after all the serious things happen, be like, so how are you feeling? How are you coping? Just as to kind of understand how they are. As an organization, of course, we do give like care packs to our staff as well. So we procure from social enterprises, send it over, and we meet up as a whole organization once every 2 weeks, just for fun. We play games online, try to interact with each other. So we even have a game master of sorts, quite difficult.
Oh, that's quite cool.
Question.
That's quite interesting. Peter, I'll let you wrap up this topic. You were dancing this afternoon. I saw on your social media.
Yeah. We have a volunteer, a welfare squad team made up of our young people who volunteer to take care of our own staff, and that has been not just during COVID. It has always been there. And during pre-COVID, they will make sure the pantry has things that people really enjoy, and they will organize game session, etc. During COVID, I think they really have been very, very actively engaging because they said, okay, some of the meeting is very boring. They're like, okay, let's add some colors. So we started with playing online game, like werewolf game, and they planned using Zoom so that the people play the game has to learn how to use Zoom different functionalities. So there's education and fun.
Right.
And last week was sign language learning, and today was dancing, stay at home and dancing. We had a wellness instructor teaching us Zumba. So that haven't danced in ages, so we're just doing that in front of the TV and with all my team virtually, and we are going to choreograph a dance to bring some positivity and then challenge some of our fellow social entrepreneurs to bring that positivity on.
Yeah, I know Casper and Russ was telling me off camera they really love to dance in their free time, so you know who to look for.
Boy band,
Anyway,
right? Boy band.
We'll do our
let's
band.
boy
best.
band. let's take a couple of tough questions and then we should wrap it up. We've got Xuan Liang who said, what are some potential social issues that could arise? I mean, you guys again are on the ground working with social enterprises. Times are tough, obviously, even though we've reacted with a lot of positivity. Looking a few months ahead, even a year ahead, what do you think could be some really key challenges you'll see on the ground? Russ?
Yeah, number one, I would say the job markets. This is something that I'm a little bit mindful of, right? As we move, and I don't think it's social. It's probably very general kind of issues where because the global economy is like that, then definitely the job market will be very badly affected as well, right? So that's one. Number two, um, again, back to the point about the weakest link, we are only as strong as our weakest link. I think in a lot of previous cases earlier, like for example, I mean, just to look at history, right? The Great Depression or the SARS period, it's always the underserved community that gets
That gets hit the hardest.
that gets hit the hardest or neglected in a way, right? So I think these are potentially the two key areas that I see will be badly affected.
Okay, Peter?
If I take maybe the context of the social enterprises, what the social enterprises will deal with, I think the reality is gonna be, I think we don't have sufficient resources to transform and build certain capacity, unlike the bigger organizations, right? So even we are very innovative by nature that we want to try to new things and then etc. But the capacity of where do we get all those support to do that? I mean, many of us are saying that we want to go online, but the idea everybody have, but to really go online, I'm sure you do this show, you have a lot of work putting into that. And where do we find resources
you pivot halfway,
to
then you're
reach that?
stuck like that, huh? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're
So
right.
where do we find the resources to do that kind of pivot? And I think it's very critical as a moment. So that's one key challenge I foresee. And second is I feel that I also see a trend in some of our sort of fellow social enterprises as setting up a nonprofit. When revenue sort of the demand is not as big, there's a sort of alternative setting up another structure to tap on the donation and etc. So managing these and navigating in these are challenging. And how do we face public scrutiny in? I think some of our social enterprises already faced that. How to be transparent in that kind of area is kind of challenging. And the third is I think is really about managing our staff or workforce, because I mean there are a lot of us who hire disadvantaged people, right? So transition them to the change is not easy. So on the human resource side, how do we prepare this group that we care most? While the business is innovating, there's change and etc. So how do we take care of this group of people? I think that will be quite a big challenge for some of our fellow social entrepreneurs in this area. Oh, sorry. The last one is I feel that there's some of our organization who rely on or work a lot closer with corporates, and if our general business community are not doing well, those revenue stream will be affected, and they have to find other ways to earn the living.
Very, very insightful. For those of you watching, I would rewind what Peter just said. A lot of it hits the nail right on the head, right? That a lot of social enterprises might want to pivot, but they can't find, they have the idea, but perhaps not the resources to get to where they need to. And his final point about existing clients themselves perhaps not doing so well, and then cutting back on budgets and on projects, thus having a sort of a flow down effect on social enterprises. I'll give the last word to Casper before we go into our final segment. What do you see are the upcoming challenges?
I would say that the usual challenges and social issues remain, but I will allude to what Russ has said. Actually, it will be exacerbated. Of course, you will have more unemployment. I think with unemployment and also the stress that's caused by COVID, you also see a lot more mental health issues. You also see a lot more family tensions. Some things are more reversible in the short term, but I think there are some things that are less reversible in the shorter term. Say if mental health is one as mentioned. I think the other is something that most people don't see, but is when you have persons with disabilities that you used to employ, and then now because of circuit breaker, you can't engage with them. They are at home.
Yep.
Actually, they regress.
Yep.
And they regress quite
Yep.
badly. So basically, when you
Correct.
are going to restart your whole business again, what is it going to take in order to get them back up to speed in doing what they were doing in the past? I think there's also a new element, and this is something that we are hoping to monitor, is that the lower income in Singapore, to be honest, they are quite well taken care of. Singapore has a lot of government interventions that really cater to the lower income. But if you take a step
Mm.
up, what about the middle income earners, the sandwich class? What I
Mm.
think they will be most hard hit actually throughout this COVID situation. They may become the new poor, they become the new low income. They have a lot of
Mm.
adjustments that they have to make in terms of their lifestyle, in their quality of life. So I think these are things that we have not seen coming to the fore, but I think can look ahead and see that these may be areas that we need to focus on.
Thank you, gentlemen, for bringing up the challenges ahead of us. And as if there was something that we learned from today, it is that together we'll be able to face these challenges head on and look for innovative solutions. Let's end on a lighter note. I do have 5 prizes to give away, and we still have almost 70 people watching us. Gentlemen, I would like you to draw on a piece of paper and share with my audience today, our audience today, what you will do when circuit breaker lifts. The first thing you will do when circuit breaker lifts. To the audience today, to qualify for the lucky draw, please guess any of it. Put the guy's name like a Casper cut hair, for example. Russ, do whatever. Right? So the 3 gentlemen will be drawing what they will be doing straight after circuit breaker. Your role as the viewer is to guess what they are drawing. As long as you answer, you qualify for the lucky draw. Gentlemen, come. Are you ready? Who's ready?
Okay, I'm ready because I'm terrible at drawing. So
All right. Yeah, Peter,
I
show me,
cheated
show
a
me,
bit.
Peter,
So.
show me. Good. All right. Peter
Can you
is
see?
I see a white piece of paper. You need to move it a bit, move it
Okay.
around a bit.
Hmm.
Okay. Close. I see closer to the camera, Peter, if you don't mind. Up a bit.
Okay. I
Yes.
maybe I. Okay. Maybe lower.
Yes. Okay. I think we see some sort. Oh yeah. Okay. I can see a glimpse of it already. Okay, good. So that is Peter. Thank you. Director, can we cut to whoever else is ready? Russ, are you ready? No? Okay,
Okay.
Casper is ready. Casper,
Okay.
after circuit breaker, will be...
Um,
all right. He's going to, I think looks like play blackjack or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Mahjong.
Mahjong is
No,
fine.
having a meal with the extended family. We have not met each other physically for really almost 2 months.
Brother, you're not supposed to reveal the answer, brother. But never mind. It's
Oh,
okay. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, okay. All good. Okay, we've got some answers coming in from Peter. Casper has already picha lobang already, so you can use Casper's answer. Let's go to Russ. Russ will...
Okay.
Oh my God.
What's this,
Russ
man?
is... Yeah.
10?
It looks like something I used to do when physical events are thing. Looks like a floor plan. Russ, you show me again. Show us again.
Oops. I don't know how to
Okay,
draw.
this
I'm
is what...
stuck at drawing.
Cool. This is what Russ is going to do. So Russ is going to do that. Peter is going to do that triangle thing, and Casper is going to do that circle thing. All right. So these gentlemen are clearly better leaders than they are artists, but all good. Here we go. I'm going to give everyone 30 seconds to do that. 30 seconds to do that. And then we are going to go into lucky draw. Russ, we are giving away a book that you wrote. As the answers come in, can you share with me what that book is all about?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of times, this book, in a way, okay, first of all, this book is about this organization in China, and I just found out that Peter actually conducted workshop for them, right? Village 127, sometime this year. Am I right, Peter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's this
Yes, yes.
organization called Chi Heng Foundation. In Mandarin, is
Mm-hmm.
智行基. And what happens is, in the mid 90s, a lot of pharmaceuticals went to China to buy blood, and a lot of villages sold their blood, but there were not enough hospitals to officiate the proper transaction. So underground stations sprouted, and these underground stations reuse strangers, and whatever could go wrong went wrong. So that was how the whole AIDS epidemic spread in central China in this place called Zhengzhou, Henan. So when I got to know the founder in 2014, I shadowed him to the villages. Of course, it's okay already. It's been 20 years since the event happened. Nonetheless, I shadowed him to the 8 villages for 8 days, and I stayed there, interviewed the beneficiaries who were by then adults already. And that was the basis of my thesis. And I felt so inspired, right? So, and a huge thing that came up to me was, give a fish feed a day, teach the fish feed for life. But feeding for life doesn't mean a person is able to get out of poverty, as could be seen in this particular case. There were a lot of other cases as well, right? I mean, in Singapore, in other parts of the world, but that struck me really hard. And that's why also Social Collider is focused when the opportunity arose. Social Collider hopefully could be the platform or the marketplace for people to sell the fish so that they can get out of poverty. And how we do it is we help the social enterprise. So the book captures the story of some of the beneficiaries whom I've interviewed, and the founder, Tuong, his name. And so last year, I also helped them to set up a Singapore chapter in Singapore. So this is part of it, and it was launched in 2018. And these are some of the photos. So it's a small world. Just found out that Peter conducted training at Village 127, which was a cafe. So if you see, it's quite gory lah. I mean, some of the things that happened previously.
I see.
Anyway, yeah. So that's it in a
Thank
nutshell.
you. I want to thank Russ for sponsoring those 3 books. I want to thank Casper for matching Adrenaline's donation dollar for dollar to a charity of the winner's choice. And I'm going to go to Peter because there's a special announcement. Peter gave me a water bottle and a straw, essentially, which is great, which I really appreciate. It has an Impact propaganda all over it. The logo, big one on the water bottle. But Peter is throwing in a surprise. Peter, what are you throwing in?
So just by the way, for the other 2 things, because one of our key theme, our all staff support is really about zero waste. So in our office, we encourage zero waste for everything that we do, and we even have a recycling team that does the recycling within Empact on a volunteer basis. So we love those recycling stuff. So the mystery prize is, I was thinking about it today. There's a lot of social entrepreneur watching this show. So my special prize is just just a one-on-one with one of them. I can be a listener, share my experience, and I can hearing what they have to deal with, and I can be a good friend in terms of giving some of my advice and share some of my experience. And if they need pick my brain to look at something that is innovation and challenging, etc., I'm happy to help them to solve the problem. So so that's the one-on-one, and I must qualify that one-on-one. It's not a date, but it's it's a help or listening.
No, listen. I think the water bottle and the straw, like you explained, zero waste. I really appreciate that you guys are sponsoring that. But your time, that one-on-one with Peter, now that is a great prize.
Amazing.
But if Peter, if you hit it off during the discussion, can go for a movie.
Yeah, you never know.
Okay, anyway, you never know, right? You never know where these things go. Okay, let's review the answers before we go to the lucky draw. Director, please let me know when you are ready, okay? So Casper, you want a meal with your family, yes?
Yes, definitely. Throw all the comments, whether it's hot pot dinner, HDL, whatever works, man.
All right, man. Yeah, that's good, right? Just to see people physically, right? Okay, Russ, what are those squares and circles?
Oh, I miss catching movies, so I would love to go and watch a movie. Actually, sorry, yeah, I can't draw for nuts. There's a
Yeah,
movie screen. Yeah,
okay,
and
okay. That's
yeah.
a very
So yeah,
messy movie theater. Yeah.
it is. Welcome anyone
Yeah,
to
yeah.
join me. Also, I would love to buy you a ticket.
It's like a
All
Ke
right.
Chai like that. You bring your own chairs and put there.
If you
Yeah,
win the
maybe.
book, and you're interested in going to the movies with Russ, Facebook can connect you guys. Okay. Peter,
All
where are you
right, man.
going? Where are you going after
Oh,
circuit breaker?
yeah, initially I want to join my parents, but I don't know how to join to visit them, so I give up. Sorry, not very good at drawing. That's not my
All right.
skills. Mine is more like join on holiday. So I don't know how to do saving, but I want to go for holiday. Yeah, give myself a
Oh right,
break and recharge. So
you want to go on holiday. Okay, maybe you can get on a boat and go back to China and see your parents. But yes, I hope all of us will be able to do that soon. Watch a movie, go on a holiday, meet each other for chicken rice. All right, my director tells me that the lucky draw is ready. I've got 5 prizes to give away. Let's see who wins. The first 3 are for Russ's book. Here we go. Lucky draw. The first book goes to. Congratulations, the first book goes to EQ Mahera. Congratulations, EQ Mahera. All right, let's spin it again. The second book goes to. Spin it again, guys. Can we spin it again? Oh, good. We can spin it again. Number 2. The second book goes to. Congratulations, Chloe Ziqi. Congratulations. And last but not least, the third book goes to. The third book goes to Jenin Sen. Congratulations. So these 3 are the winners of the books. Charmaine, my producer, will get in touch with you through private message. All right. Now it's the $100 donation to a charity of your choice. We're going to keep the date with Peter last. Okay. So the $100 donation to a charity of your choice goes to. Let's go. Spin it, guys. $100 donation to a charity of your choice. $50 by Adrenaline, $50 by Casper. Congratulations, Li Xuan Liang. Thank you very much for tuning in. Our producers will be in touch to ask you for your charity. And last but not least, we've got the water bottle, the metal straw, so that you can go lower waist. And we've got that one-on-one session with Peter. Here we go. The winner of that Empact prize goes to.
hopefully it's not my colleague. That's why they will become a performance review
Okay,
competition.
if it's your colleague, we will Ladies and gentlemen, the winner is Benjamin Yu. Congratulations, Benjamin. Our producer will get in touch with you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 1 hour into the show, almost exactly to the minute. Thank you to all 3 gentlemen for joining us. Casper, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for having us.
Russ, thank you.
Thank you.
Peter, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for doing this for the whole Adrenaline team, and also the interpreter there. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you.
That's
So
right.
much.
So
Great job.
social media handles are on everybody's screen. So if you'd like to follow them on social media, find out more about the great work Empact, Social Collider, Raise, as well as Equal Dream does, please follow their socials so that you get more updates. My thanks to Equal Dreams. My thanks to our producer, Charmaine, our marketeers, Belle and Hui Yue, and our director, Jamin, and the whole of Team Adrenaline for your support. This was supposed to be the finale, but it turns out we're doing one more bonus episode next week. And most importantly, to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, our viewers, for tuning in and for your support. The Good People Show is about supporting social enterprises and the good people around us, trying their best to make a positive difference. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Hey, yeah.
Thanks, guys.